Putin came to power in the late 1990s off the back of very poor Russian economic performance. So the Russian economy had declined through much of the 1990s. At one stage, it fell to be smaller than Belgium's, so it had fallen something like 80% over the period, and inflation rose to 130% or so. The Russians defaulted on their debts in 1998. So there were these very bad circumstances for Russians, and all the promises of capitalism seemed fairly hollow, along with, of course, a lot of kleptocracy. And then Putin came in, and in the period after he came in, economic growth was quite strong. So, in fact, in quite a few years, quite extended period, Russian growth was around 10%, and it's been pretty consistent over the period. Of course, there was a little downturn at the time of the financial crisis and with COVID, but by and large, he's delivered quite solid economic performance. And that is a key source of his political influence and power. That's what he delivers for his population, and that's what he delivers for his oligarchs. It's entirely plausible that the kinds of sanctions which have been introduced here, inducing a bank run, apparently in Russia, cutting off their access to trade, those could create something like a 20% contraction in GDP. You could have, in addition to that, it might be that inflation goes back above 40% instead of the 10% or so that you've had recently. If that were to be sustained over, say, the next 3 months, that would place Putin's political position very awkward. Another thing about that, of course, is that the Russian economy isn't a huge economy. It's only around the size of Spain's even now, and it isn't going to be able over the longer term to sustain such large military forces if it doesn't have the economic strength. So if Western sanctions bite, they might bite very quickly and have an impact via that way. But if we leave them in place for a decade or something, then the Russian economy will become severely impaired, and that will very greatly undermine the ability of Putin to have such a large military force.